Hello everyone, welcome back to Real Rugby Only. I'm a big believer that either the Bulls or the Stormers could lift the Champions Cup trophy in 2027. The finals are being played in Lyon, France, and let me dive into my analysis. This is the swimming pool I'm about to go into after because I've just recorded 2 videos and it's like 40 degrees here in France. It is crazy. Let me go for a walk. So, the Bulls and the Stormers are the best in South Africa. I think let's be honest, I'm quite surprised that the Sharks aren't up there. You know, they had such a disappointing URC this season, and even 2 seasons ago, despite winning the Challenge Cup, they were poor. Now the Lions, on the contrary, look, they had a good season, but from what I understand and what I know of the Lions, they just lose their best players, right? They lose their best players abroad. They may have a disadvantage of playing in Ellis Park. Comment if you think that I'm wrong on this, but with Ellis Park being a tough stadium to access in some regards, and not a nice neighborhood, and also the fact that it's huge and it sort of looks like when Lions play they don't get much of a crowd. I think it makes, maybe it's got nothing to do with the fact that the Lions aren't that good compared to the other teams, but I just, it's a bit of a kind of a side note. I just hope that the Lions get bigger crowds because I really like them. They're entertaining guys. I mean, I love watching the Lions. I really do. And they're playing in the Champions Cup. They've got Toulouse, La Rochelle in their pool. I think that's already kind of doomed them. I believe they have Saracens and Exeter. And they're going to be in trouble, I think, this year. Now, it will be interesting to see in Connacht, right? But they're not playing Connacht. I think the Lions, you can scrape them off, unfortunately. I don't think that they're going to go far in this Champions Cup. Now, I hope that the fact that they play in the Champions Cup will get crowds in, and that the Lions will be able to, as I said, attract more sort of bigger crowds. I really hope that they get home ties against Toulouse, and why not a home tie against Saracens? That should bring in good crowds. And I hope that this is a good step in the right direction for them. Now, going back to the Bulls and Stormers, I've been really quite curious as to why they didn't push harder last year. The Stormers, I made a bit of a rant about this, and I was so disappointed when I saw that they got absolutely drilled by the Harlequins away, because they started off by beating Bayonne away, which is not easy to do. I can tell you, as a guy who follows the top 14, Bayonne never, ever lose at home. They are so good at home. And the only team in the year before to win away in Bayonne was the Bulls, and the only team that beat them last year until the end of the season, and they lost a few games, were the Stormers, and then Leinster, of course. But what you did in the Champions Cup last year, Bulls and Stormers, was good but not good enough. When Stormers, they also beat La Rochelle in PE, then they decided to just send a B team to Harlequins, whereas if they tried to beat Harlequins, they could have topped their pool, because then they beat Leicester. And let me tell you this, guys, the difference between topping your pool and not topping your pool is massive. If Stormers got a home round of 16, a home quarter-final, and a home semi-final, although the semi-final would have probably been played in Europe, I think the Stormers would have been able to go to the final. The Stormers especially, and for the Bulls, no, for any of the 2 South African teams, if you prioritise the pool stage, where you know that you can do it, you just need to sacrifice maybe a couple URC games and really send a good squad to Europe, because honestly, topping the pool and getting a very easy road to the final, not easy, but for example, let's say you're in the quarterfinals and you're playing against Bordeaux or Toulouse. The difference between winning or losing that game is if it's played at home or not. If you're away to Toulouse and you've got an important URC game the next week, you are not sending a powerful squad. It just makes sense. Because even if you send your best team, you're probably going to lose. So do you want to take the risk? Probably not. However, if you're playing at home to Toulouse, you're playing your best side possible and you're progressing to the semi-finals. South African teams need to just realise that. Now, it may seem like I'm just stating the obvious, but it's all about the pool stages. And the reason I believe that the Stormers or the Bulls can win the Champions Cup is for 2 specific reasons. First of all, if they understand that they need to go for it in the pool stage, they'll have it a lot easier starting from the round of 16. Secondly, I think there's this growing sentiment that they can do it. They almost qualified to the quarterfinals this year, but then once again, I think it was going to be a losing game, because the Bulls would have had to play away to Toulon if they beat Glasgow, which is tough. and the Stormers, who were close to beating Toulon, would have had to play away to Glasgow. So they'd have most likely, or actually it could have been Stormers Bulls if they both won. My bad. That would have been so. There was almost one team in the semi-finals this year, so it wasn't that far away, right? Even though they both got eliminated in the round of 16, it wasn't. It was very close to. We were very close to having a South African team in the semis. If the Bulls and the Stormers do well in the pool stage, they're going to decide to go for the Champions Cup. I think it's a decision. I think that both teams can win it. And I say this because who are the other contenders? Toulouse, Leinster and Bordeaux. There are no other contenders, guys, and I'm being serious about this. There are no other teams that believe that they can pull it off. And maybe there'll be another French team like Montpellier or Stade Francais. They're very good. Who else in the URC can pull it off? Maybe Glasgow, although they always fumble when it matters in those latter stages of the URC or the Champions Cup. And in England, sorry to say, I just don't think that Bath or Northampton have what it takes unless they really get off to a good start in the pool stage. And all the difference is going to be made whether you play at home or away. Let's just give you an example. Bath versus Stormers or Northampton versus Bulls. Games that seem like 50-50 on paper, but the winner is likely going to be the one who gets that tie at home. Just think about it. You're in Pretoria, you're playing for the Bulls, and on Saturday you're playing against Northampton at home. Makes such a difference compared to having to take a flight from Pretoria to probably transit through the Middle East, then arrive in London, take a bus to Northampton, be tired, knowing that next week you've got a home tie maybe against Leinster in the URC. It's just tough, and knowing that even if you do beat Northampton away, the next challenge is Toulouse away. It's the whole importance of the Champions Cup, because you have to play within the rules of the game. The laws of the game are that the highest seed plays at home, which I don't think is good. From the quarterfinals, I would like to see some neutral venues or home and away. But anyway, that's just my point of view. I think that the way it is right now is that you have to just put 100% in the pool stages. And if Bulls and Stormers decide to do that, I think that they have what it takes to top their respective pools. Or at least come second and have like maybe they'll have to be away in the semi-finals, but in any case, they would be away because they'd have to play in Europe even if they were at home. So yeah, and I think it would be great for club rugby in South Africa and just club rugby in general to see a Springbok team lift the Champions Cup. I'm rooting for you guys, genuinely. But it's going to be very hard to stop the French dominance. Toulouse and Bordeaux are probably going to be favourites. So, as I said, it all starts in the pool stage. And I wish the Bulls and the Stormers the best. I think it starts with a decision. And once that decision is made that we want to go hard in this Champions Cup, and we know that it starts in the pool stage to make our life easier in the knockouts, they can do it. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.